Hello, my name is James, and welcome to Mirror Domains. Today I'm going to be talking about my best top 10 list of 2016. Here are the movies that I've seen this year. Okay, so there are some noticeable ones that I left off. I haven't seen Fences, I haven't seen Manchester by the Sea, I haven't seen Sing Street or Moonlight, and my list could change, but these movies were either small releases and I haven't gotten around to see them yet, or they have like that limited, okay, they released a few cinemas on the 25th and then it's going to open up wider next year. Okay, that being said, I don't think it would affect my list too much because it's full of some really good ones. Okay, some noticeable ones that I just want to give a quick mention to. I want to talk about Neon Demon. I thought it had some of the best cinematography that I've seen this year. The story, not so much, but I want to give it a quick nod. And a guilty pleasure of mine is The Huntsman, Winter's War. You're like, what? Well, it's because of certain things and I really liked about it. Okay, so getting to my list. There are some honorable mentions that I want to talk about. The first one is Train to Busan that I just watched the other day. It's a foreign language film, so I know a lot of people won't like it because of that. But it's a zombie movie on a train, and it's got one of the most interesting things. Like, the heroes go out as heroes, and the ending is so heartbreaking. It's almost on par with The Mist, kind of like, oh, I can't believe they did that kind of thing. It's definitely worth a look-see. Midnight Special is also up there. If you haven't seen it, it's like a smaller little indie sci-fi flick that just goes into places where you're like, wow, cool. Nocturnal Animals, I gave a 7.5 for, mostly because of the acting. You will want to watch this because of the acting. The story is grim. It's a grim story. The Accountant, really good performance by Ben Affleck. And I liked the whole mentality of, you know, him trying to deal with his, I think it's autism. And it's just fantastic. I like that. I like how all unraveled. Like, yeah, you have to see The Accountant. A sleeper hit that I wasn't expecting to be any good, but it was Morgan. And I know that flew under the radar for a lot of people because I think they were expecting it to be Ex Machina, and it's not. It's not. And it's worth the look. Okay. And finally, to talk about my 10th spot, it was a toss-up between two movies, The Witch and The Nice Guys. And I was like, oh yeah, which one do I really want to put in? And if I had to tell you to watch one of these movies, like, you only get to watch one, they're both great movies, and luckily you can watch both. So I'm going to tell you, watch both of them, they're great. But if I had to pick one over the other, I would tell you watch The Witch, because it has some great acting in it, but it's a well-crafted film. It's got a great sense of mood, and the cinematography is spectacular. And that ends up in my top 10. That's number 10, The Witch. Yes, it is worth the look. So is The Nice Guys, but The Witch edges it out just slightly for me. Moving on to number 9. Oh, sorry. That's the score sheet for The Witch. Yeah, so that's how that worked. I gave it an 8 out of 10. All these movies will be 8 out of 10 or higher on my best list. So number 9 is Hacksaw Ridge, a bloody war movie, and it's gripping at times. Here's my score sheet for it. I think it speaks for itself that the directing is well done, the acting is well done, the story, I'm faulting for it. At times, it is a bit preachy. And I could fault the director for that, but I will fault the story, because the execution of the battle scenes alone is it's just god-awful. And, like, to the point where some people in the theater were going like this, I don't know if I can look at that. It's brutal, but it is a good film. It's my number 9 pick of the year. My number 8 pick is another war movie, and I learned from last year that to to be a little bit more hesitant as to where to place it on my list. It's Star Wars, Rogue One. It's number 8. And upon thinking about it, yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. It's a solid 8 out of 10. I would want to watch this again, and I tell people to go see it because of the spectacle, because of the visual effects. You can just see Darth Vader in all of his glory doing his Sith stuff, and it's just one of the best final scenes in all of the Star Wars movies ever, actually. Rogue One. Moving on to number 7. This one has definitely flown under the radar for a lot of people, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but it's Florence Foster Jenkins with Meryl Streep. Once again, she knocks it out of the park, but it's the supporting cast that really helps this movie along. Hugh Grant is in it as the husband. He's awesome. And then Simon from Big Bang Theory is in this. And he steals the show for me because he doesn't act or sound anything like Wolowitz from the Big Bang Theory. He's just on a different level, and it's cool to see that he can carry his own with these other heavyweight actors. Florence Foster Jenkins. And it's funny, too. It's got some really unexpected laughs in it. So I totally recommend it. That's number 7. Moving on to number 6. Every now and then every year, I will give a score to a movie, and I'll be like, afterwards, no, I actually really like that. I'm going to give it a different score. I'm going to bump it up a little bit. And for that, that's La La Land. Originally, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and I faulted the director for a lot of the story mistakes. And I still do, because it has pacing issues and tone issues. Tone, as I said, with the way that the acting was from when they're singing and dancing to when they're actually just talking. There's too much of a jarring difference from a stage acting performance to an actual in front of the camera performance. I fault the director, not the actors, and not the story for that. Pacing, as I said, it opens up kind of weird, and then it has like this montage towards the end where I didn't think it worked. It actually ruined the movie for me. So, but it's good enough because I found myself humming the tunes after for days. Like City of Stars is one of the best songs of the year so far for me in the movies, and it's just like awesome. So I bumped it up to an 8 out of 10. And there's the score sheet for it, the new revised score sheet. And that brings us to the top 5. And this one is going to make you go, what? And that's Passengers. And I know people will say, well, what? What are you talking about? Well, for me, it's just one of my fantasy movies that, hey, if I'm going to be stuck on a desert island or on a spaceship, I want to be stuck with a gorgeous woman. And that's what this movie is sort of about. And it's dealing with, you know, the trial and error thing that happens on the ship and his decision making. And I just like the visual feel of it. The atmosphere really worked for me. Passengers, I gave an 8.5. I want to watch it again, and I do want to own it. So there you go. Passengers. Number 5. Talking about sci-fi movies. Moving on to number 4, Arrival. And this movie is getting a lot of acclaim for the acting, for the premise. You know, it's about communication. It's about trying to establish good relations with people who may not be your friends necessarily. And I like the whole premise of the language that they were developing and how they learned to interpret it. It worked fantastic for me. The cinematography is breathtaking at times. Arrival, number 4. Okay, now as I said, I sometimes change the scores, and I wanted to for the third movie on my list, which actually got a 9.5. A 9.5. And I was thinking, and I was mulling it around. These top 3 I could change, and I could interchange. But I'm going to say that this is the third one, 10 Cloverfield Lane. And when I was looking at the list, I was like, well, this is the score sheet. It's got great acting. It's got great directing. It's got a really awesome story. It's well shot. It's got great use of soundtrack. And I want to watch it more than once. So, yeah, it's a 9.5. I can't take that away from it. But, you know, there are other movies out there that should get more acclaim than this little indie flick. At least I considered it an indie flick. But, it's just a really well-crafted film. I can't fault it for that. So it's got to be my number 3 pick of the year. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Number 2. And it's a toss-up between these two. It really is. And I'm going to say Hell or High Water is my number 2 pick. It is a cops and robbers movie, and it's got some twists and turns in it that take you by surprise. The acting is top-notch. I can't praise this movie enough. Hell or High Water. Definitely watch it. Try not to watch any of the trailers because it kind of reveals some things about the nature of the story, but, watch it and enjoy it. And then it's one of those movies where you'll be like, yep, I want to watch that again. That was good. That was awesome. And my number 1 pick of the year, should be no surprise, is Captain America Civil War, which it really should be called Avengers 2.5 Civil War. Because you get all the Avengers in it, and you get the big action scene. You get to see Spider-Man at the airport, and the pacing of it, I just watched it again the other day. The pacing of it is so tight. And it's one of those movies where the bad guy wins at the end. And you're like, oh, okay. I want to see more of that. And the big fight scene at the end with Iron Man versus Captain America is just one of the heartbreaking, things that could ever happen between these two friends that used to fight for law and order, and now they're at odds with each other. And it leaves you okay with it. It leaves you okay. And it's the number 1 movie of the year for me. I saw it the most times in the theater. I saw it 3 times in the theater. Yeah. Civil War. What can I say? All right, so that's my best of 2016 list. Next, I'm going to talk about the worst. Hopefully that will be going a little bit faster than this. I don't want to indulge too much on the actual narratives of what I thought about the movie, because I'm going to put in annotations so you can click the annotations to my actual reviews on the posters in case you missed it. That's it for the best list. If you've liked what you've seen, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.